Hello, garden friends, and welcome to my slopey Central Texas garden oasis. Today, I'm going to show you 5 gorgeous flowers that you should be putting into your garden right now that it's full-blown fall, that aren't mums. Of course, there's nothing wrong with mums. If you are a mum lover, go right ahead. But if you're tired of that same old, I'm about to show you something that is available in our nurseries right now. They are available in little starts that are very inexpensive. You can put them into your garden for beautiful blooms that will last throughout fall, winter, and a little bit into spring, because you know how spring goes. One day it's 20 degrees and the next day it's 100. So up until that day when it gets really hot, these plants will be very happy in your garden and will provide very beautiful blooms in pretty much any color you want. The first plant I'm about to show you is alyssum. It is a gorgeous annual plant that needs cooler temperatures, so right now is the perfect time to get it into our Central and South Texas gardens. It is a very beneficial plant because it attracts ladybugs, which eat aphids, and predatory wasps, which also get rid of aphids. It also attracts all sorts of pollinators just in general, so it's a must-have in my book. You can get it from nurseries, from transplants, although I believe that a more popular way to get it into your garden is just to sow it from seed, which the seeds are very cheap and you can find them in literally every garden store that's carrying seeds right now. The default color is white, and I actually didn't have to sow this from this particular packet. It's completely unopened because I have it growing in a pot right now next to my cucumber, and I didn't sow it there this year. I sowed it there last year, and then it blossomed. It was beautiful. It smelled amazing, and it completed its life cycle when it got too hot. And then I left it there. I got rid of the weedy parts, but I did not put any fresh seeds into that pot. And now I have alyssum there again. So all that is to say, alyssum will reseed itself. But if you don't want it, it's very easy to just pick off the little seedlings and get rid of them. It's not invasive in that way. I also am putting this beautiful Oriental Nights, which is purple. And I did have it last year in a pot. It was very nice, and it also had a very nice fragrance. I also just sowed this variety, Rosy All Day, which seems to be kind of rosy, pinkish, magenta-ish variety. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to look beautiful in between my leafy greens, which I am putting in the particular garden bed. Of course, it is a cool season flower for us here in Central and South Texas, so unless you pamper it to an unreasonable extent, it pretty much dies in the summer. It may survive throughout the summer, but it won't really be happy come fall, so it's best to just grow it as a twice a year annual. So you either sow it in fall, let it survive through winter, and then let it grow in spring and then die, or you sow it in spring and then it also has enough time to produce flowers by the time that the heat comes and kills it. Plant number 2 is the classic pansies. Of course, before you skip forward, hear me out. They come in a gorgeous variety of colors, and they don't all have that kind of signature dark inside and light outside. They don't have to be the like yellow and purple ones, because that is what I associated with pansies throughout most of my life. These are the ones that I saw around and I wasn't a fan. But now when you go to a garden center, there are so many beautiful varieties, and I'm waving this one around because this one's blue, as you can see. Also, you may have heard by now that blue is a fairly rare color in the garden, so I am even more looking forward to seeing how this comes up. You can, of course, go to a garden center and pick them up. I saw many blue pansies at 2 garden stores I went to. Definitely a lot there to pick from. There's pansies and then there's violas, which to me seem to just be smaller versions of pansies. And I'm sure botanists are about to kill me right now because I'm sure there's more to it. But appearance wise, violas look for the most part like smaller versions of pansies. And for the most part, they have the same care requirements. So there's a lot for you to choose from. Now, with number 3, I'm about to cheat a little bit and squeeze in 2 for the price of 1. I'm going to talk about stock and snapdragons. To me, they are very similar, with the exception that stock is often biennial. Not always, but some varieties of stock are biennial, which means that they grow 1 year and then only in the second year will you see any flowers. So before you buy, look up the variety you're buying, do a quick Google search on your phone just to make sure that you are buying what you are looking for. As for snapdragons, they are the classic cool weather flower over here, and you are probably very well familiar with them. They come in a wide variety of colors, and they are just beautiful. The best part about snapdragons is that they come in different heights. There's dwarfs, there's medium ones, and then there's tall ones. Last year I had a dwarfy dwarf, and this year I got the tallest one that I could find because I wanted to peek through into my window from my garden. Only one of them is blooming right now because they really do need that cooler weather. And we did have a few days of something around 40, 50 degrees, but it's back to 80 during the day. It does go back to around 60, 50 at night, but it is still really hot during the day. And snapdragons really thrive when it gets really, really cool. Stock will grow to 10 inches tall, and it comes in many colors as well. The great part about stock is that it does survive our summer. It does need to be protected from the biggest scorching sun, of course, like most plants really, but it does survive the summer and it can be a perennial. Plant number 4 is lobelia, if I'm saying that right. I have not grown it before, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this little guys can do for me. I got a variety called Crystal Palace, which seems to be the most popular in the nurseries around here. I have seen this variety in a few different places. It will produce dark electric blue flowers, and it also has really interesting kind of bronzy foliage. Lobelia is actually a genus of plants, so it is not one single plant. Don't forget your smartphone. When you are at the nursery, make sure to check which variety you're getting, and check the care requirements, and check whether it is heat tolerant. There are some lobelias that will survive our summers, especially the ones that are native to North America. It's not this one. This one's native to Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Interestingly, it does not survive our summer heat. It also doesn't survive freezing temperatures. So it's best to put it in pots, and if you want it to last all winter long, you can just move it inside when the temperatures dip below 50 or 40. I read that they stop blossoming once temperatures are consistently below 50 degrees. And below 40, they really start to suffer and may start to die. However, they are still a great choice for that electric blue color in your garden that you aren't really likely to get from anywhere else, especially at this time of year. Another reason to put lobelia in pots is that you can keep it out of reach of your pets. I have dogs who eat anything that looks like grass, pretty much. They just love chomping on the grass. They are actually cows that look like dogs. I know that they won't touch something that looks like lobelia because I have seen them long enough. But if you don't trust your dogs that much, do keep it out of reach because it is toxic. Our last plant is good old dianthus. It doesn't look like much, but it is going to be quite pretty. The best part is that it is especially attractive to butterflies and hummingbirds. One thing about dianthus is that it is a perennial, not an annual, but a lot of people treat it as an annual because it stops blooming in the heat of the summer. But technically that means you can absolutely over summer it, if that's a word. It should be in here. So as long as you over summer it, you will have a perennial bloomer. However, because it is a perennial, not an annual, you do need to be a little more careful with the placement in terms of how many hours of sun it gets every single day. The other ones we just went over are annuals, therefore they need sun, and they can get all the sun they need in our Central and South Texas fall, winter, and early spring. But full sun generally is not good for most non-native plants when it comes to actual summer. Same goes for dianthus. It is not native, it is adapted. So it does well, but that does mean that it was not made for our scorching 100-degree direct sun summers. So especially if you want it to grow for you year-round for years to come, you need to put it in a place where it gets morning sun and afternoon shade. All of that aside, I wanted to go over the care of these plants. All of them need full sun, which means 6 to 8 hours of direct sun. However, that means direct fall, winter, and early spring sun. That pretty much never means the way that sun beats down on us in the summer. As I mentioned before, it's not a problem with most of these annuals since they pretty much are gonzo by the time summer rolls around anyway. Dianthus, you want to be careful and make sure that it doesn't fry in the summer. Put it in just kind of regular soil, not too sandy, not too clayey, just a moderate amount of organic matter. In terms of watering, all of these plants will do well if you allow the soil to dry down to about 1 inch, which should be somewhere around your knuckle here. So stick your knuckle in the soil, figure out if it's soaking wet or not, and then water accordingly. They don't like being soggy, like most plants don't like wet feet, so be careful not to introduce any root rot. So it is important to allow these plants to dry out just a little bit on top. Other than that, regular watering is kind of key. We do get some rain over here in fall, winter, and spring, but don't rely on just that. We have been suffering from such drought this year that it is important to pay a little more attention to your flowers this year and give them some water if they need it. So if any of these 5 or really 6 plants sounded like something that you'd be interested in, you need to run, don't walk, to your local nursery and get them ASAP so that they have enough time to get established and start blooming in time for the slightly harsher weather. Make sure to support your local nurseries. Let me know in the comments if you already grow any of these plants, which ones are your favorites, and which ones are you going to try this year, if any. Make sure to subscribe, like, share with other gardeners in Central and South Texas, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!